hard from campus. Come on, tell me walk one. Campus connection, yeah, and that's a one now, yeah. Walk one from campus. How we are carry hard from campus. Come on, tell me walk one. Campus connection, yeah, and that's a one. Hey, some make us on then listen, let me tell you this. Students, I will make we do this. Oh yes, we create this space just for you. Make we talk about you, make we talk about school, government and politics, sports, academics, anything that concern you. I don't know when love pass through. It's all about the gospel. So tell me walk one from campus. Youths are going on from campus. Come on, tell me walk one. Campus connection, take another one down. Hey, I walk one from campus. And we are carry lot from campus. Come on, tell me walk one. I walk one down. Hey, walk one, everybody one.
All right.
Wait.
Greetings, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of Campus Connection. How are
Hello,
you
co-host.
doing? Hello, co-host. So good to see you. You
Yes.
know, after a
Feels
very
like it's
long
been
week.
forever.
Exactly, it feels like a year. 1 week can feel like a year.
Wow.
But greetings to everyone in Radio Land. If you're listening on the FM band 101.1, 3, 5, 7, or 9. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're joining us on our app or on our website at www.love101.org, thank you for being here with
So
us.
smooth.
You know.
You know. Well, I'm Ernesto, in case you don't know by now.
Yeah.
And who are you, sir?
I am
Co-host?
Jonathan, being smooth, apparently, this
Apparently.
afternoon. But yeah, guess what?
What?
It's part 2 of the
Oh my
very
gosh.
riveting,
Oh Lord, help us.
thought-provoking conversation. Listen. What are your thoughts?
I don't know if I'm ready.
Of last week's show, though?
Well, there is a certain guest who was on the show that really made an impression with one statement that he made. I will not repeat the statement, but everybody that listened to the show that I spoke to, they commented on that statement that was made. You just had to be there, because I'm not gonna say it. I'm not.
The feedback that I've been receiving since last week Tuesday, trust me, that's been something else, and I'm excited. I don't know about you. I don't know about Radio Land.
I'm excited and slightly nervous.
I'm just excited. I'm ready. I believe we're talking about a very necessary topic.
Absolutely.
Something that is very important for us to talk about, and so I am really appreciative that we get this opportunity, because not many get the opportunity to talk about certain issues and whatever. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that we get the opportunity to speak in this manner.
Yeah. And I love the fact that, we always manage to get like some very reputable people, and their opinions really help us to get a better perspective of what's happening in our schools and stuff. I love that.
Big up the Campus Connection team, because many of you see us and you hear us every week, but we actually have a team of persons working behind the scenes
who do the real work.
we just show up and talk. So we're very grateful for our team who continue to really put in the work, finding the right persons for the show, for us to have these wonderful conversations.
Absolutely. So what are we talking about today? What's up for today's show?
Let's get into it. So we have education news and bulletin first by our October student partner, Ashana Jackson. And then at 5:40 p.m. we have Honor Roll with Michael Coke Jr., former deputy head boy at Kingston College, with 19.6. Jesus, these Honor Roll students just keep, Anyway, with 19.6, he passes. 19,
19, yeah.
Who's currently pursuing
extensive.
Listen this now, a bachelor's degree in actuarial science. That's not an easy degree.
Actuarial.
I don't even know. He will have to pronounce it when he comes on. at the University of the West Indies, Mona. And what's coming up in the Let's Talk About It segment? The Let's,
Oh
yeah.
gosh. So here we are again. How can we make our schools safe again? What can the
Mm-hmm.
church do? What can parents do? Students do? Everybody involved because there are so many stakeholders. And we have, of course, our guests, Mrs. Kenisi Davidson. She's the acting assistant chief education officer in the guidance and counseling unit at the Ministry of Education and Youth. And we also have Mr. Richard Troop, Director in the Safety and Security in Schools unit in the Ministry of Education and Youth. And we have someone back again with us, no stranger to the show. Who's that, Jonathan?
No stranger at all. Boy, this is going to be something, you know. This is really going to be something. We have Mrs. Tracy and Taff Thompson, President of the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors, and
Right.
Mr. Linvern Wright, President at the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools, and he's also the principal at the William Nib High School.
Right. So we're looking forward to that discussion. It promises to be an exciting,
Definitely.
heated, lively discussion.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, you can share your feedback with us on our topic of violence in schools. Go to Facebook, go to YouTube, and leave your comments right there. Please do so while we're live.
Yes.
Make sure that you comment while we're live so that we can, comment on your comments. And go to our
Mm-hmm.
WhatsApp line as well. It's 876-997-3125. So that's eight seven
Definitely.
six 3125.
All right, so let's get straight into the show. Our student partner for the month of October is Ashana Jackson, final year student at UA, pursuing a journalism major and a minor in Spanish.
Mm.
Ashana? All right, we're waiting on Ashana to join us.
Ah, there we go. Hi, Ashana. Welcome to the show again.
All right, working out some stuff. Working out
Okay.
some.
Tuesday, October 11,
All right.
2022, here inside Campus Connection. I am Ashana Jackson. The University of the West Indies is set to implement a foreign language policy for its 5 regional campuses, requiring students to participate in foreign language training at a general level. The policy is being implemented on a phased, faculty by faculty and campus by campus basis, beginning in the academic year 2022 to 2023 and applying to new undergraduate students only. Students will have the full duration of their academic program to acquire language competence, but students entering the university with prior competence will be exempt from this requirement. Jamaican children with special needs will be provided with accessible digital textbooks through the Ministry of Education and Youth and the United Nations Children Fund. The materials will be available to students who are visually or hearing impaired and those with intellectual, developmental, or learning disabilities. Writers, teachers, publishers, organizations for persons with disabilities, technologists, and representatives of the Ministry of Education and Youth work together to develop the guidelines to produce the textbooks in the accessible digital format. ADTs allow children with different learning needs to access the same content, participate in the same textbook based activities in and outside the classroom, with equal opportunities to achieve positive educational outcomes. Member of Parliament for St. Anne Northwestern, Crystal Lee, says hundreds of students benefited from several educational programs undertaken in the constituency. Ms. Lee mentioned that through the Constituency Development Fund, they were able to contribute towards the educational upliftment of many. Over 600 students received book vouchers, 35 students received tablet devices, and there were 55 tertiary grants. With additional support from charities, they were able to provide over 2,500 backpacks and school supplies and contributed over 500,000 to the development of 2 new classroom spaces at the Brownstown Infant School. Ms. Lee said the 2 new classrooms will assist the institution towards getting certified by the Early Childhood Commission. Also, through sponsorship, over 800 back to school medicals were facilitated free of cost to parents. More than 500 school professionals in over 100 secondary institutions are to receive mental health training over the next 3 months under the government's School Mental Health Literacy Program. The $10 million initiative, spearheaded by the Ministry of Health and Wellness in partnership with the Ministry of Education and Youth, will allow educators, school nurses, and guidance counselors to give mental health first aid to 21,000 grade 9 students who are being targeted. This is to create a curriculum on how to appropriately respond to students' mental health challenges, thus raising awareness in schools to improve students' attitude, confidence, knowledge, and reduce the stigma surrounding the issue. Administrators, students, teachers, and parents of a corporate area co-educational high school were on tenterhooks yesterday morning as a simmering dispute involving upper school boys appears ready to explode. Reports said that in a recent incident, two groups of boys faced off outside the school gate, and one pulled a gun, which he pointed at his rival, who fled while patrons at a nearby plaza looked on. Sources said that some grades 10 and 11 scholars from the unidentified Kingston 20 institution have formed gangs, which are mainly linked to the neighboring communities where they live, and they are coming to school armed with knives, ice picks, choppers, and based on one report, guns. Violent confrontations between students have escalated since the resumption of face to face classes this year, following 2 years of online instruction due to the novel coronavirus pandemic. The Ministry of Education and Youth will provide psychosocial support for students at Kingston Technical High School following the fatal stabbing of 16-year-old Michion Campbell at the institution recently. Education and Youth Minister Honorable Fayval Williams said the intervention will involve collaboration with various agencies. She said officers from the Child Protection and Family Services Agency have already visited the institution and engaged with the students. Minister Williams said the ministry will also reach out to the families that have been directly impacted by the incident. She urged students to find peaceful ways of resolving conflicts, saying the incident occurred despite the presence of metal detectors and searches conducted at the school. It's now time for Campus Bulletin. The University of the West Indies Mona campus is hosting an entrepreneurship competition for all student entrepreneurs to develop skills and business plans, gain business exposure, and facilitate networking opportunities. Applications opened October 7 and will close this Friday, October 14. And the UE Mona Commuting Students Office is calling all UE gamers to a FIFA tournament this Thursday, October 13, for a chance to win a first place prize of $10,000 and other prizes. The application form is available on their social media pages. And that's all the news we have for you today inside of Education News and Bulletin. I am Ashana Jackson.
All right, you just heard Ashana Jackson. She's a final year student at the University of the West Indies, Mona, pursuing a major in journalism and a minor in Spanish. And now it's time for honor roll. So in this week's in this week's segment of honor roll, we have with us Michael Koch Jr. He is a very distinguished student, to say the least.
Mm-hmm.
But what's funny about his story is that he says the 2019 to 2020 school year was the roughest period for him, and we all know what happened 2019 to 2020. Of course, COVID, and when classes went online and stuff, that was that was his greatest one of his greatest hurdles, and he's of course here to talk with us about it. um how COVID affected him, poor internet connection. We can't wait to hear to talk with Michael in this
And
show.
the truth is, as a result, it would be customary of course, for him to show up in different spaces, not only for classes, and he barely learned anything throughout. Michael, I want to hear about this. I'm very intrigued to hear about your story. Please unmute your mic, sir.
Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hi, good evening. Thank you so much for having me. Good evening, Jonathan and Anesta.
And
Um,
Nesta, yes.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. Yeah, yeah.
Good evening.
How are you doing?
I can't complain. I've got I reached home I was reached home kind of early, so I got some time to
Mm,
rest. That isn't customary of late.
Oh,
amazing.
nice.
But speaking of reaching home kind of early though, can you pronounce the name of your degree, please?
Oh, okay. So I'm doing actuarial science, and
Actuarial.
Actuary.
The word of the
yes,
day,
Act-
campusites.
Actuarial.
The word of the
yes,
day is Michael. Go ahead.
actuarial
All right.
science.
You see that? That's the word of the day.
Wow.
But before we reach to your degree, though, we want to find out how did you manage to overcome the setbacks brought on by COVID? Like, which subjects did you find to be the hardest, you know, being online?
Okay, so being online, it's CSEC, so I would have found like principles of accounts very
Mm-hmm.
Mhm,
difficult because it's a lot more than just reading a book. You have to
mm,
practice, you have to know to draw up statements. And that for me, I was really behind in accounts, and also I want to say French, but I'm really good at French. So I just fell back from my normal standard. So I would consider that also going through some adversity. But for my science subjects and for math and English, I think I was pretty much on track, even though I wasn't learning because
mm.
I couldn't attend classes. But
Right.
I didn't fall back too, drastically.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, let me back up just a little bit, Michael. You got 19 CXC subjects in total. Can you break that
Yes.
down for us in terms of how many CSEC, how many CAPE, and was this all in one sitting? Like, how did you do it?
Okay, so CSEC, when CSEC grades were that CSEC, I sat it in the year 2020. That was,
Mm-hmm.
in math and English, three sciences, physics, chemistry, biology, French, that's information technology, that's principles of business, principles of accounts, all ones. Uh,
Nice.
Cape Unit
Wow,
1,
congrats.
2021. Thank you. 2021. So I did Cape Physics, Computer Science, Chemistry, Pure Maths, and Com Studies. Four ones and a three in Communication Studies.
Mm-hmm.
And 2022, that's last year, I did the same subjects, but instead of Communication Studies, I did Caribbean Studies. So four ones again, two in Caribbean Studies.
I just love how you casually just roll them
Yeah,
off, just casually.
yeah.
Oh,
You
all
noticed
ones.
that too?
All ones,
All
by the
ones.
way. Just to put that out there. We love it. We
Wow.
love it. We love it. But being, engulfed in academia, as a young man, how important do you think it is to have supportive friends, teachers, family members during all of that? All right, seems as if Michael is
Sorry,
having
there's
a
a
little
slight
bit.
disconnect.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I'm back
Did you
now.
hear the
I'm here
question?
again. No,
All
I
right,
didn't.
so
Could you please repeat that?
I was asking you, being somebody who is engulfed in academia, as I'm assuming, how important is it to have, supportive friends, family members, teachers around you?
Oh, oh wow. Okay, so firstly, I have to say that the friends I have at KC, teachers I have at KC, admin staff, they have been nothing but the best like support
Amazing.
system
Mm-hmm.
I could have asked for. For my labs, for example, during COVID, like these teachers went above and beyond to ensure that students like me who did not have much connectivity, so I wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
attending classes, I could
Mm-hmm.
still keep up somewhat. Uh,
Mm,
in for my lower 6 year, which was almost fully online, where we had to do labs because the science subjects required lab experiments, where we
Mm-hmm.
had to come in and they would give up some of their time, their free days, their weekends to ensure that we, had face-to-face time with them to consult with them. And my friends overall are sometimes even more enthusiastic about my own achievements than I am. So I can't complain.
Mm.
Wow. And I know those relationships certainly make a difference. I'm wanting to know about just your interactions with people outside of your class time. Like, were you involved in any extracurricular activities, and did they help you during this period, or did it actually
Okay.
make things
Okay.
worse?
Yes. Yes, definitely. Okay. So, I was firstly my clubs were Interact Club. I was in Science, Engineering. I was vice president of all three, along with Mathematics Club. I was also a member of Casey's quiz team, and I was deputy head boy.
Mm.
I was deputy head boy in.
Right.
I'm outgoing deputy, so
Mhm.
that I regard the experience I had with those activities sometimes on a higher level than just my academics, because that allowed me to develop holistically as a person. Perhaps like
Right.
before sixth form, it was all books for me, but certain things like public speaking and overall just anxiety control, it didn't come for me. And I had to
Mhm.
step out of a very tight and narrow shell in order to perform in those capacities. So I am extremely grateful for the opportunity I had in each of those capacities to perform.
So I know
Awesome.
quiz alone would have taken up a
Yes.
lot of your times,
Yes.
to balance quiz with
So much.
academics. Wow, that is quite interesting. So you're on your way to university, um,
First year, right?
first
Yes.
year.
I started in
Um,
September.
yes. Um, why this particular discipline of
Okay.
all the fields? Why this?
Okay, well, actuarial science.
Mhm.
Firstly, I was drawn to actuarial science plainly because I like math. But further than that is
Wait. This sounds very familiar, Nesta, doesn't it?
It really does. It really does.
So am I to believe that we're having students now um in love with mathematics because you're the
Yes.
second honor roll student that's coming on this season saying that they love mathematics or they like
They're
mathematics.
drawn
But
to
they're drawn.
mathematics. Not
yes,
running
I
away.
absolutely love.
Not running away. They're
I
drawn to math.
I do math in my free time. I love math.
Excuse me. You
What you
do
think you
math
do
in
math
your
in your
free
free time?
time.
Like, can I just work some maths? Like,
Tell us some
it's
more.
relaxing.
It's
It's relaxing
relaxing.
to do.
Relaxing.
Yes, and along with my
Wow.
interest in math, I also
Mm-hmm.
love coding, like computer programming.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And my long-term goal is to go into data science. And I feel like actual
Mm.
science is one of the paths I could have taken to get there, because we know that actuaries, they calculate risk using statistical models and probabilistic models. And
Hmm.
what I'm interested in is data, manipulating data to process, to gain insight, to make decisions not only in business, but in
Hmm.
other sectors like insurance, government, health, tourism, and so much more. Data science and analytics is as promising as it is versatile. And
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
that's why I chose actuarial science, because not only would it give me a very strong math background, but it has the
Mm-hmm.
rigor.
Right. Uh, well, we were certainly we were certainly just, I mean, in awe of
In
all your
all is right.
accomplishments.
Thank you.
But is there anything outside of what you mentioned so far? Is there anything that you would consider another great accomplishment that you've had in your tenure?
Okay, so in my tenure, other great accomplishments, I would just have to talk about my time in Interact and also on the Scientific Research Council's School Science and Technology Society. I was assistant VP.
Mm-hmm.
Through that, we were able to, well, firstly, with SSTS, we were able to hold conferences where we exposed students to other alternative career paths in science, not just doctor or engineer, but even things in beauty and environment. And for interact, I would have to talk about
Mm-hmm.
hearing me.
All
No.
right. All right, we're hearing you now.
Am I
Yes.
audible?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh dear.
Are you hearing us?
Uh, mm,
Not hearing us? All right.
Aw,
See as
I
if
was
Michael is.
enjoying that.
Yeah.
you know?
Yes, Michael, we're hearing you now. Are you hearing us? Guess he's not hearing
I
us.
guess he's not hearing us after all.
Unfortunately, he is not hearing us. But I find that very, 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 very interesting that these nowadays students. Um,
Why you say it like you say it like you're some old scholar
I
back in
just
your
had to.
day.
I had to. But
Back
it's
in
good
your
though.
day, people
It's
didn't like math.
good that they have a change of heart concerning mathematics. Because trust me, in my day, I don't know of anyone who was saying, I love math and I do it in my free time. But
Yeah, I was definitely that literature student. I was
yeah,
definitely, yeah,
artsy.
history and arts,
Yeah,
and yep, that was me.
yeah. I was more drawn to the business subjects. I
Okay.
mean, a little bit of the arts here and there. I mean, literature. I just didn't understand literature, to be very honest,
Was it
because
the Shakespeare? Was
no,
it?
my thing is, I'm giving you my opinion on what I
Uh-huh.
understand.
Right.
You cannot mark me for my opinion. This is what I
Well,
believe the writer is saying. Big up Miss Watt if she's listening to this
uh,
right now.
there's
Trust me,
something called a premise, you know? You
no,
have
but
to
at
have
the
a
same
premise
time,
for your opinion.
listen, you know what? We're not going to continue because I will talk about this for the rest of the show.
Ah,
But yeah,
oh
that was
gosh.
Michael Cook, a young man
Oak
who
Junior.
Coke Jr. He is a young man who is a very promising um
I'm telling you.
person, all around individual. Notice he wasn't just interested in academia when he was in high school, but he was exploring extracurricular activities. So it's important for us to be balanced.
Right.
Balance is
Right. And
important.
the balance is important. And I find that you actually, they call it hard and soft skills. So you learn your hard skills inside of your class time, but then your soft skills are those extracurricular activities.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the students who come here on honor roll, they actually have both of those things. You see them going hard in class, but also outside of class, they're doing something. They're part of some group or society or something. So we definitely encourage all our students listening and parents encourage your children to get involved, be a part of something other than classwork, homework, schoolwork.
Mm-hmm.
But yes,
Definitely, without a shadow of a doubt. And I'm looking forward to more conversations. You may not know. You listening to me right now. Yes, you. You may be the next guest. You may be the next guest, the next honor roll
the
student.
next honor roll.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
just keep at it and do what you need to do and be the best that you possibly can be in every area of your life. This is Campus Connection and it's time for a break. So we'll be right back after these messages.
From campus, come on, take me back one. Campus connection, yeah, that's a quad now, yeah. Walk on.
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Colgate Triple Action. 3 benefits for a deep clean. As a mother, you always want to give the best to your family and to make them happy. With Colgate Triple Action, you give them 3 reasons to smile: cavity protection, whiter teeth, and fresh breath. A unique formula with a minty flavor they will love. Colgate Triple Action. Find it at your favorite store.
I'm Tammy.
I'm Wayne.
And we are the Mitchells. Our life is a busy vibe.
We have our vlogging and music.
Entertainment for the kids.
Them love the online gaming, you see.
And streaming enough shows.
So whether we are at home or on the road,
Flow Yard and Road is made for our vibe.
Power your everywhere vibe with Yard and Road and get up to 150 megabits per second fiber fast internet at home and fully loaded mobile with unlimited social and YouTube data. Anywhere talking text plus gigs and gigs of any use data. All for a special offer of $4,999 plus GCT. Yard and Road is for the way you live. Flow, Jamaica's network. Visit discoverflow.co. Conditions apply.
Need a loan? AIM Financial Corporation has a loan for every purpose. The time by AIM Financial is
6:01 p.m. Welcome back to Campus Connection here on the Family Station Love 101. If you're just joining us, welcome to the show. We are live on Facebook and on YouTube at Love 101 FM Jamaica. So if you're on the live, please share the live with a friend, a family member, a student, somebody who you think would be, interested in this kind of content. So we just want to thank you also for joining us because you didn't have to. And that's the truth.
Absolutely. I just want to clear something up that, a question that was posed in the comments.
Listen.
Hello to everyone watching on YouTube, commenting. Am I related to Pastor Stephen? No, I'm not. I believe that's Stevenson Samuels. No, sorry. But
coincidence, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, we're all families, the family of God. You listen to the family station. You know.
All right, so we're getting into the meat of the matter now. The real reason why you are here.
Wow.
The reason why you are listening. You want to hear part 2 of the program from last week. We were talking about Jamaican students' mental health. What are some of the factors contributing to violence in schools? Does COVID, did COVID do anything to cause the upsurge in violence? So many questions we have, and we have a very heavy panel. If I may put it that way.
Yeah.
They're ready to answer our questions and your questions. Remember, you can join in on the conversation. 876-997-3125 via WhatsApp or comment on our YouTube or Facebook platform and talk to us as we talk to you.
Please do. We want to hear your feedback on this topic. And remember, you can send us a message right there on YouTube, Facebook, and our WhatsApp line. So let's just introduce our guests or panel. We have with us Mr. Richard Troop, and he is the Director of Safety and Security in Schools unit in the Ministry of Education and Youth. And we also have Mrs. Tracy Ann Taft Thompson, President at the Jamaica Association of Guidance Counselors.
We also have Mr. Linvern Wright, President at the Jamaica Association of Principals of Secondary Schools and Principal at the William Knibb High School. Did we cover everybody? I think we did.
I think we did.
Yes. Welcome, panelists. Welcome back. I think Mr. Troop is new to the panel, but welcome, sir.
Welcome, everyone. So we do want to just briefly just give a brief recap of some of the things that were discussed in last week's show. We were looking at Jamaican students' mental health, and we wanted to know what were 3 factors that contributed to an increase in school violence. And some of the factors that were highlighted: poor parenting skills, imitation of negative influencers or artists or social media stars, unresolved trauma that many students were dealing with. There was poor anger management and conflict resolution skills, inability to control anger impulses. And of course, there was mention of the absence of a value system. The whole notion of a village, it takes a village to raise a child. Um, and of course, lack of resources. And I believe that was where a lot
That's
of
where things got, you know.
it got, yeah, it got quite intense right about there. Right about there.
And so we had to continue the conversation this evening. So Mrs. Tuff Thompson, I want to start with you. You know, throwing it in the fire as we're here, just throwing it out there, right? So last week we spoke about the whole lack of time slash funding concerning guidance counselors. And we wanted to really find out where does that leave our students? Because if the guidance counselors are not quote unquote equipped, then it leaves our students defenseless. It leaves our students, one would even say careless. So, what are your thoughts concerning that?
Good evening again, everyone.
Greetings.
Well, the lack of resources have caused our counselors to be even more creative. So they have not given up on the task, but they have dived in full force, and they have found ways of acquiring these resources from other schools, neighboring schools. There are some counselors who partner with another school in order to reduce cost. So they may combine their programs, and they have a collaborative effort in acquiring these resources. Many times the presenters that we may desire, they come at a heavy cost, but bless the Lord that our counselors, amen. Bless the Lord that they are resourceful and they are more than capable of providing sessions for some of these students and come with creative ways of having the students enjoy the sessions. We also have partnered with some agencies who do come into the schools from time to time to offer some kind of support at a minimal cost. So we say big up to them. What the counselors really need, the items that they really need would help in, to push the program in a far way. And that would kind of put the icing on the cake and so. But outside of that, they are trying to find persons who are able to assist in their communities. But if you have it, it would even make it that much better. So,
all right.
So we have not dropped the ball. I know there are some persons out there in the public space saying councils not do nothing.
You're just making it clear.
I am just making it very clear that we have to be very resourceful. Some of us have gone to print trees to acquire some materials if we need materials. We have to find sponsors to even get equipment. In terms of drumming is something that is we're getting back into, getting the students back into music and expressing themselves through the arts, visual and performing arts. So among the counselors, they also have skills that we tap into. So those who are good with the performances, those who are good with music. So we share our talents with each other and we use each other up in that way.
Okay.
Yes.
Sir Troop, Director of Safety and Security in the Ministry of Education. I'm sure you're a very busy man nowadays, Sir Troop.
I'm telling you. All eyes on you.
Can you unmute your mic for us? Share with us some of the things that are happening in your neck of the woods.
Am I being heard?
Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon to you and to the other panelists. I've listened to the factors that you would have indicated from the last program that would have contributed to the level of violence in our schools. Could I add one more?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt.
the COVID-19 pandemic represented an unprecedented time for us as Jamaican, but also for the education system. We would never have had a time in recent time when children would not be in face-to-face classes for over 2 years or close to 2 years. Can I suggest that a major factor, contributing factor then, to the increased incidence of violence in our school would have been the fact that children would have been, for close to 2 years, many would have been in an unstructured environment.
So, true. Just to jump in, so you're saying that there's definitely an increase in violence?
Yes, there would have, well, I mean, or the reported incidence of violence that has been suggesting that. And I'm indicating what could be a contributing factor. The fact that our children would have been away from face-to-face classes for close to 2 years. Many of them in a very unstructured home environment. When they are now brought into structure, called school, when they are expected to behave in a particular way without the requisite orientation session to support their transition into high school or a higher grade level, that would have contributed to the incidence of increased incidence of violence in our school. Because children for a long time would have been away from structure, would have been away from organized play, would have been away from a classroom with 30 other classmates. And so it would have taken some amount of time to support that readjustment to school and to classes. Thankfully, our guidance and counseling unit would have played a major role, the Ministry of Education and Youth, in understanding that what is needed right now, as much as we looked at trying to assess our children to determine the learning loss, what was also equally important was the investment placed in psychosocial support, because the children came back to school with significant emotional issues that were unresolved for close to 2 years, perhaps would have even increased because of the vulnerabilities that they were in for close to 2 years. Thankfully, as a system, we would have recognized the need to give targeted and clinical attention to psychosocial needs of our students, of our staff, and also of parents. Gratefully, we would have also benefited from the strategy that would have been utilized, which is drawing on the skills and expertise of others to complement the efforts of our guidance counselors and deans of discipline and educators in general, because we alone could not have, managed this significant challenge. But by the partnership that would have been explored and facilitated, it meant that we had additional bodies of persons with the requisite skills and competence to complement our efforts with the investment in psychosocial support that would have been provided for the stakeholders of the education system. So for us, that was an important thing. We do understand that as much as metal detectors and CCTV surveillance system, the technology is important to decreasing the vulnerability, the risk factors. There is also tremendous value in really shaping the hearts and minds of our students. And hence the psychosocial support to the students was equally important to reduce the incidence of violence in our schools.
Mr. Troop, can I just ask how is it that, based on your findings, because I know many schools, they have metal detectors, they have different things in place to ensure that weapons do not make it onto our campuses. Can you say how somehow these weapons still end up on campus? What avenues are being used to get weapons onto our school campuses?
Okay. So, as I would have indicated before, we as a ministry and our schools would have invested a lot in the use of handheld metal detectors. In some schools, they are equipped with walk-through metal detectors. Many schools would have invested their own resources, mobilize funding support from past students association, parents, private sector organizations to procure CCTV surveillance system to help to identify the vulnerable spaces on the school campus. However, despite all these investment in technology and also the deployment of manpower to treat with searches at the gate and to do strategic searches at different points on the campus or in classrooms, there are going to be instances where weapons will be taken to school. I would have said before, children find creative ways to take weapons to school.
Mm-hmm.
In recent times, we have to be searching even the shoes that children wear to school because they would put the weapon between the sole of the shoe and the socks to take the weapon to school. There's two things I think we have to do differently. We have to encourage our students to understand that we can resolve conflicts in other ways outside of the use of violence. That's number one.
Mm-hmm.
We have to equip our students with skills to manage conflict. Children will say that they have conflict management issues. We have to find a way to equip students with skills to manage conflict without resorting to violence. The other thing we need to do, and it's a big challenge because of our informal culture, the other thing we need to do is to say to all students, we have a duty, we have a responsibility that when we see or we hear that a student has a weapon in school, they must report it to the relevant authorities so that that weapon can be confiscated. We cannot pretend that students do not also have a major role to play to reduce the presence and the use of weapons in school. We have to get all hands on deck. And we have been saying to students, been saying to parents, you too have a duty. You know, in the same way we search at school, you know, I know Sir Wright would agree with me, parents have a responsibility to also search the bags of their students as they leave home for school. So that, you know, while we are doing this at school, at home, parents and guardians are also recognizing that, you know, this is a potential risk that children will take weapons to school. How do we ensure that our own children are not contributing to this problem by taking weapons themselves to school?
Thank you, Sir Troop. All right. So I want to bring in Sir right here. I think it's a good place to bring him in actually. Sir Wright, have you noticed a difference with pre-pandemic and, well, I guess we can say post-pandemic now, as relates to behavioral patterns in your students? Unmute for me, please. Okay. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I guess there is, and you sense that it is in the air. Anecdotally, there's a lot of it. When you meet with teachers, they speak to it. As a principal myself, I guess when I walk around, you wouldn't see some things because of how people respond to authority. But I guess it is something that is there.
Mm-hmm. Go again, Sir. All right. Seems as if we're having a bit of internet issues with Sir. But Mrs. Davidson, could you continue on the same vein, please?
Remember to unmute.
Unmute your mic, please.
Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yes.
Wonderful. Good evening, everyone. We
Greeting.
understand where Mr. Wright is coming from and what he's saying as he speaks to what is being seen on the school campuses. He speaks anecdotally because we have not had a research to give us that empirical data. Because one will say we have had fights in our schools before, we have had students being stabbed before. What is not coming to the public's face is the little things, those little pushback, angry retort, almost hostile environment.
Mm-hmm.
The news media will carry a major fight because it was captured on somebody's telephone, They will carry it because the child was fatally stabbed, but they are not carrying the increased aggression. This is my chair, this is my desk, as children seek to re socialize and get back into the groove of sharing.
In
Because
the
for so
physical
long
space.
in the physical space,
Mm-hmm.
so when we talk about an increase in violence, the nation will hear about a fight here or there, but schools will be telling us about the little fights that don't go into fatalities and the angry retort and the almost rebellion in some regard. And so that is greater than we would have pre-COVID. And so we have to, this early detection and early intervention is critical so they don't escalate.
But
One
Mr.
teacher
Mhm.
mentioned to us her student, the boy, somebody was short on a chair and he went for the chair. And when he came back, the other one said, "Oh, me get one already." And he just tossed the chair across the room. And so this would not make the news. But
Wow.
this is an increase. This is a deterrent in terms of from what the norm should be and
Mm-hmm.
what they were accustomed to doing. So there, it's all a matter of grouping. And so we have the storming and the norming. And they are actually storming because they're now relearning each other, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
Interesting. Very interesting. Sir, right, are you on?
Yes, sir, I'm back.
Yes. All right. So we were talking about pre-pandemic versus
Post
post-pandemic,
pandemic.
but Mrs. Davidson brought up an important point, and I wanted to hear your view on it. Do you think it's because social media is more, prevalent? We have more students having smartphones. As a fight starts, they're ready to video it and post it on socials. So do you think that's the case where the public is more aware then of these things as opposed to before the social media age?
I don't know. I think teachers are reporting to that it's more and maybe and I'm not sure if Mr. Troop can say it whether deans are reporting it's more. But you
Mm-hmm.
see, what is happening is that we have to also pay attention to what is happening in the rest of society too. One
Mm.
is having a significant challenge dealing with violence.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said on another program this morning, monkey see, monkey do. Or
Ah.
responding to what is out there. And I was talking to a vendor close to my school recently. And I'm trying to work with some of them. He doesn't really work close to my compound, but children buy from him from the community that they're coming. And he was just saying to me when I was in this community on the weekend, he said, Mr. Rice, if we don't change the way we transport our children to school, we're going to have a problem. I
Tell us more.
think we are not recognizing what is happening on the buses
Mm-hmm.
with our children. That parents really send their children to school, but I don't think they know what is happening on many of these buses. The children choose to come on the buses that they want to come on.
Yes.
Come to school late because that one bus might be the one that has all the trappings that they are looking for coming to school in terms of the nasty music and whatever kind of outrageous behaviors they can display on these buses. And, in societies that seek to protect children, one of the things they do is that they have a dedicated bus system. They have
Right.
constant people doing this kind of thing. And I think that we are not looking on those things. Because the truth is that many societies have things that kids can be exposed to. But a real civil society seeks to sort of, quarantine, if you may, its
Mm-hmm.
children from many of these things that could really, contaminate their minds. And it is happening. I have had to just walk out of my school grounds and just talk to bus drivers for the kind of music with bad words just before the school. I don't think they care about things like that.
Mm.
And what I think is that the children just have maybe about 6 hours of any attempt to curtail anything in them that would be aggressive, that would be loose, that would just be all over the place. And then as soon as school is over, they are so happy to hear that school is going to be done because they're going back into what they consider to be a situation that is conducive to the kind of loose behavior that many of them would want to display.
Yes.
The truth also too is that it's not every child who is happy with these things, because I have children coming to me and they are unhappy with how things are. They are feeling fearful. They are not liking what is happening. What I've never had as a principal is this much parents talking to me about bullying and children trying to extort the kids, right?
Oh, so that's more now.
Even many of those things are out there in society. And many, I had one boy in my school, it was like 10 of them that he extorted. Like 10,
Wow.
and with one stood up to him. It was I find that is one of the big things. And I realize when I do my survey that it's coming from particular communities. So communities where that is something that is practiced, many of these guys seem to be practiced too. Many of these other persons, when these things are happening. So
it's overflowing into the schools.
Right. And I hear Dr. Truman, many people talking about what we're really trying to do is to just ensure that the space of school is safe for the time. But is that sustainable? What I think we really need is a nationwide understanding and project to get those kinds of social issues sorted out, because many of our communities are not right. Many of our homes are not right. So what needs to happen is that we have a sustainable program for those things. I proposed this morning that, if you notice, we have a multi-billion-dollar fund to build houses, but we have no multi-billion-dollar commitment to building quality homes. And what we need is a sustainable program to help many of these parents, many of these communities, to restore themselves in a way that is civil, that's going to ensure that our children don't need to be searching the way they search coming to school. Because that's about a kind of savagery that you have to be tempering when they come to school. That if you don't deal with it in the mindset of the parent, in the mindset of the kids from their little children coming up, we are really going to continue to have these things, and we just have to try to cauterize when they come to school. That can't be sustainable for a democracy. It can't be sustainable for any society that wants to really have its citizens and not be traumatized and feel balanced,
Thank you, Sir Wright. Thank you so much.
Let me just throw. Oh,
If
absolutely.
I
Go
may,
ahead.
though, if I may, we want to go quickly to the fact that there is a national character education that is being developed, and the research, because there was a research first, because we're being data driven, data influenced, and so this character education, that is not a Ministry of Education character education, but it's a national character education, because the things Mr. Wright just addressed, we are well aware of these, and we recognize where the adults need to have this total mindset change to be able to be that kind of leader and the proper role model for our students, and to reduce everything negative in the society which is spilling into the schools. The national character education is very important, and so the research showed what students believed, what their fears were, how they looked at what their needs were, what schools thought, different stakeholder groups. And so this national character education is addressing every Jamaican citizen as we go back to being that civil society where there is respect for life, there is respect for people's property, the spiritual aspect of it, the moral aspect of it. And so we love to recognize when so many different stakeholder groups are singing the same song, the song being, we need to treat all our issues from a national level, which will in turn flow into our school system.
All right.
All right. I think we're out of time.
We are definitely out of time, unfortunately. I
But
don't know.
this was so good.
Is that part 3 I'm hearing? I don't know. We don't know. Guys, this topic is really a packed one, and there's a lot to unpack. But we're so grateful to all of you, our panelists. Thank you so much for making the campus connection this evening, and all the very best.
And you have given us hope, colleagues. I mean, two young persons, moderating a program of this nature, having this very important conversation with us is so very important. So let me, on behalf of the panelists, also congratulate you too, for this conversation and the work that you do. And this is the kind of conversation we need to be having on an ongoing basis if we're going to be finding the solution to our nation's problem. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I
Thank you so
appreciate it.
much.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
We're literally out of time. Thanks everybody
That's-
for joining Campus Connection. Thanks to our
All
producer,
right.
Tony K. Bramfield, Timor
Timoy.
Butler. Who else? We leaving out anybody?
All our guests who are on
Yeah,
Let's Talk
man.
About It, Honor Roll, Michael Coke Jr. Thank you to everyone. We'll see
Our
you again next
viewers,
week.
listeners, all the best and see you next week.